I didn't open my eyes when the front door clicked at exactly 2:37 a.m., but I was awake. I'd been awake for hours. At first, I told myself she was just running late, maybe out with coworkers, maybe stuck in traffic, maybe just blowing off some steam. Allison had always been independent. A little impulsive even. It's one of the things I loved about her. But tonight felt different. The key turned slowly, as if she were afraid the sound might splinter the silence. That wasn't like her. The door creaked open and closed in a hush, followed by the soft pad of heels slipping off and hitting the entryway floor one by one. She always took off her shoes when she didn't want to be heard. My body went rigid under the covers, but I kept still. I kept my breath steady, shallow, as if I were in some kind of amateur play and the act of pretending to sleep might protect me from whatever was about to unfold. She moved carefully across the hardwood floors, pausing once near the hallway mirror. I could hear the faint rattle of her keys landing in the ceramic bowl by the door and then silence again. I don't know why, but I could picture her checking her reflection in that mirror, maybe wiping her lips, maybe smoothing her hair, maybe debating whether to even come into the room. The first thing that hit me when she entered the bedroom wasn't sound. It was scent. Not hers. She always wore the soft mix of coconut lotion and that modest floral perfume she'd had since college. Tonight, though, she carried something bold and unfamiliar, an expensive oriental perfume with spicy top notes and a base that clung to the air even after she passed. It didn't smell like Allison. It didn't smell like anything I'd ever smelled in this house before. The second thing I noticed was the way she walked. Usually, Allison moved with purpose even when she was tired. But this was careful. She wasn't stumbling exactly, but she wasn't steady either. She crossed the room as if testing the floorboards under each foot, like one wrong step would trigger a trap. When she passed by the foot of the bed, the ambient light from the bathroom caught her just enough that I could make out the edge of her dress, a deep, dark velvet that stopped mid-thigh and clung to her in a way that was clearly not designed for comfort. It wasn't one of hers. Or if it was something I'd never seen, never zipped up for her, never complimented. It looked expensive. Formal. It didn't belong to the life we shared. Her lipstick was smeared. Not dramatically, but just enough to look like it had been wiped, not removed. And there was a mark. It was just above the line of her collarbone on the left side of her neck. Not big. Not obvious unless you were looking. But I was. A faint reddish-purple bloom, like a flower pressed into skin. It hadn't been there that morning. And it didn't look like a bruise from walking into something. She didn't say a word. She didn't whisper hello. Didn't glance toward me. Didn't crawl into bed with some tired excuse like she used to after late nights. Instead, she walked right past me like I wasn't there and disappeared into the bathroom. The door clicked shut. The faucet ran. And I just lay there, eyes open now, heart pounding so hard I thought it might shake the mattress. My brain scrambled for rational explanations. Maybe it was a work event I forgot about, a friend's birthday party she didn't want to bore me with. Maybe the mark was a scratch from her coat collar. Maybe the perfume was from someone hugging her goodbye. I tried to convince myself that none of it meant anything. But it was hard to ignore the quiet finality of her movements. She didn't peek in on me. She didn't check if I was asleep. She didn't care. And that, more than the mark, more than the perfume, more than the dress, that was the part that gutted me. I stayed motionless, staring at the shadows on the ceiling while the water ran behind the closed door. A full minute. Maybe two. She was showering, not just washing her face. The bathroom fan kicked on, humming like white noise between my thoughts. I couldn't decide if I was angry or just numb. We hadn't fought that day. We hadn't even spoken that much, really. Just a quick coffee together in the morning, her usual "don't forget the deadline on your permit" reminder as she ran out the door, and a text from her around 6 that said, "Late meeting. Don't wait up." That was it. No kiss. No emojis. Just a statement. She hadn't even replied when I texted again at 9:42 p.m. Just, "Everything okay?" No response. And now, 5 hours later, she was here. Physically. But the woman who moved around our home now felt like a stranger trespassing in the life I used to understand. When the water finally stopped, the door stayed shut longer than I expected. I heard drawers open, the soft rustle of clothes. The zipper of a makeup bag. No talking to herself like she used to when she got ready for bed. No humming some commercial jingle she couldn't get out of her head. Just silence. Eventually, the door creaked open. I shut my eyes again instinctively. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want her to know I'd seen her like that. Or maybe I was afraid of what would happen if our eyes met. I wasn't ready to lie. And I wasn't ready to hear her do it either. She padded across the room and slid into bed on her side, carefully, like she was trying not to disturb me. Or maybe she didn't want to touch me. Either way, the space between us felt like miles. She didn't even shift toward me like she used to. Just lay there. Still. Facing the wall. My back to hers, I opened my eyes and stared out the window. The sky outside was the color of lead, the moon hiding behind a curtain of clouds. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked once and then fell quiet again. And that's when it hit me. Something was different now. Not just the night. Not just Allison. Everything. Something had shifted in the way she moved through this house, like she was already halfway gone. And I realized I hadn't asked the real question yet, not where she'd been, but who she'd been with. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The morning after she came home late, Allison was already gone by the time I got up. No note. No coffee left on the counter the way she used to. Just a half-empty bottle of sparkling water on the nightstand and the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the bathroom. She'd taken the velvet dress with her, no sign of it in the laundry hamper. It was like she'd never worn it at all. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I might have questioned whether it had really happened. I stood in the doorway for a while, staring at the empty space where her purse usually sat on the dresser. She never left without it, except now it wasn't just her purse that felt missing. It was her, whatever version of her used to make this place feel like home. That entire day, I couldn't focus. I stared blankly at my computer screen in the office, barely able to finish a blueprint that should have taken an hour. My head kept going back to the mark on her neck, the perfume, the silence. I reminded myself I wasn't a paranoid person. I wasn't that guy, the one who snoops through his wife's phone or tails her in his car. But there was a heaviness now, like I'd crossed some invisible line into a different chapter of our marriage, and I didn't know what the rules were anymore. Then she started changing her passwords. Subtle at first. Her laptop used to unlock automatically when she opened the lid, now it prompted for a password every time. Her phone had a new passcode too. She claimed she updated it because of a work policy, something about company security audits. I nodded like I bought it. But she worked in a small publishing house, hardly the Pentagon. She also started dressing differently. Bolder colors, tighter fits. Jewelry I'd never seen before, a flashy stuff that she used to call tacky when we passed window displays in the mall. One morning, she put on a chunky gold bracelet with emerald inlays, and when I asked where it came from, she said, just something I treated myself to, then left it at that. No receipt. No box. Just something. She started wearing her hair up more often, neat buns and pulled back ponytails, almost like she was deliberately hiding her neck. Like she didn't want to explain anything. The worst part wasn't even the changes, it was how she handled the questions. The way she'd respond just a little too quickly. The explanations were never quite right, like she was reading from a script someone else had written for her. One night she said she'd been at a book club. The next day she slipped and mentioned she hadn't read anything new in weeks. Another time she said she was grabbing drinks with an old friend named Marcy. I'd never met a Marcy. When I asked to join, she paused for just a beat too long before saying, it's kind of a girl's thing. She also started using her maiden name again. I noticed it first on a shipping label, A. Wexler. I thought it was a fluke, maybe just a setting error on the website. But then it showed up again on a new credit card that came in the mail, on an RSVP to a charity event she signed us up for, even in an email she left open once on her work computer. That one stung. It's hard to explain what it feels like watching your wife slowly detach from the life you built together, like peeling away a sticker that used to be part of something whole. I'd see her sitting at the dining table, laughing to herself while typing away on her phone, her face lit up in ways I hadn't seen in months. And when I asked what was so funny, she'd tuck the phone under her leg and say, just a meme, or something dumb Becky sent me. But it never sounded real. I started writing things down. Nothing dramatic. Just bullet points in a plain black notebook I kept in the bottom drawer of my nightstand. Dates, times, places she said she was going. Outfits she wore. Whether she kissed me goodbye. The smell of her clothes when she came home. It felt obsessive at first. But then it felt necessary. Like I needed something solid to hold onto when everything else was starting to float away. April 12th. Left at 6:20 p.m. Said she was going to a gallery opening. Came home at 1:48 a.m. Reeked of cologne, something woodsy and sharp. Same dark red lipstick. Bracelet still on. April 19th. Found earring in laundry. Not hers. Gold hoop, cheap? Asked about it. Said it was probably her coworkers, must have gotten mixed up at yoga. Allison doesn't do yoga. April 22nd. Found nightclub ticket stub inside pocket of her car. 2 entries. One marked as admit to. Venue, Fuse Lounge, Atlanta. Event was a Thursday. She told me she was at a workshop. Each detail felt like a splinter under my skin, small but impossible to ignore once it's there. I tried confronting her once. It wasn't a fight. I just said, hey, I noticed you've been staying out kind of late lately. Everything okay? She smiled tight and polite and said, yeah, just busy season at work. Then she kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her keys, and left. That was the last time I asked directly. Instead, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Like how she always left her phone face down now, or how she kept her screen brightness low in the evenings. Or how she changed the lock screen to one of those abstract art images instead of our wedding photo. That change hit me in the gut more than I expected. She also started locking the bathroom door while she showered, something she never used to do. I once knocked to ask if she wanted coffee. There was a beat of silence, then she yelled through the door, "Can you give me a minute?" Her tone was clipped. Defensive. I made her coffee anyway. She never came out to drink it. I started following her once. I know how that sounds. I'm not proud of it. But I waited until a Thursday, the same day that nightclub Stub was dated, and when she left the house dressed in black heels and a low-cut blouse she hadn't worn in years, I gave it 10 minutes, then drove after her. She didn't go to the office. She didn't go downtown either. She went to a dry cleaner on the edge of town, dropped off a small bag, and then drove to a boutique hotel. Just parked. Sat in the car for about 10 minutes. Then someone else got into the passenger seat. I couldn't see who, it was too far, too dark. They didn't get out. They just sat there together. For 23 minutes. Then she drove off. Alone. She came home around 11:30 p.m., kicked off her shoes at the door like always, and said traffic was awful. Then she hugged me. And I realized it was the first time she'd hugged me in over a week. That made it worse. After that, I stopped trying to convince myself I was overthinking it. This wasn't nothing. This was a shift. A quiet one. But undeniable. The house felt different. The way she moved in it had changed. The rhythm of her footsteps, the way she brushed past me like we were strangers at a grocery store. I started locking the office door when I worked. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't say anything. She used to peek in with coffee or rub my shoulders when I stared too long at a design. Now she didn't even ask about my projects. I could have burned the place down and she wouldn't have flinched. There were days when I caught her staring out the window like she was waiting for someone. Not nervously. Not guiltily. Just expectantly. Like this place, this marriage, was just a stopover on the way to something else. The scariest part wasn't that I didn't recognize her. It was that I wasn't sure she recognized me anymore either. I didn't tell Allison I was going to the charity gala. She'd mentioned it once in passing, some private art exhibition in Atlanta, part of a fundraiser her company was helping sponsor. I played dumb when she brought it up, nodding absently while she explained how everyone from publishing would be there. But I paid close attention to the details. Date. Time. Location. She said it like I wouldn't be interested, like it was already decided I wouldn't be there. The morning of the event, she left the house in a fitted navy pantsuit I'd never seen before. Sharp lines, cinched waist, bold red lipstick. She barely said goodbye. Just grabbed her bag and said, "Don't wait up. I'll probably stay with Beth if it goes late." Beth lived in Macon. Not Atlanta. I didn't say anything. Just nodded like the idiot husband she was trying to cast me as. I waited until she was gone, then got dressed. Nothing flashy, just a navy blazer, charcoal shirt, dark jeans, leather shoes. I didn't want to stand out. I wanted to blend in, observe, watch. The gallery was one of those converted warehouse spaces, concrete floors, raw brick, tall ceilings, and just enough moody lighting to make everyone feel expensive. When I walked in, the event was already in full swing. Waiters floated around with champagne flutes and miniature hors d'oeuvres. String lights twinkled overhead. People were laughing too loudly, pausing to pose for photographers who were obviously paid to be there. I slipped through the crowd, staying along the perimeter, half hiding behind a tall sculpture that looked like a melted giraffe. My heart pounded like I was on the edge of something I couldn't take back. And then I saw her. Allison. She walked into the room like she owned it. Not the Allison I knew, the woman who used to tuck her feet under herself on the couch and eat cereal straight from the box. This version was curated. Polished. No wedding ring. Wearing a black silk dress with a plunging neckline and heels that clicked like punctuation across the floor. Her hair was curled loose around her shoulders and she wore a diamond-studded choker I'd never seen in my life. She looked free. She smiled too widely at everyone, touching arms, leaning in close, her laugh too sharp to be real. A group of men surrounded her like satellites, orbiting whatever gravity she now carried. One of them placed a hand on her back and whispered something in her ear. She laughed again, real this time, I could tell, and didn't move his hand. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I thought I would feel rage. Or humiliation. Maybe grief. But I didn't. What I felt was clarity. The truth wasn't hidden anymore. It was right there in front of me, smiling like it belonged here. She hadn't seen me yet. I stepped deeper into the crowd, moving closer. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, if I'd confront her, walk away, or just stare until she felt my eyes burning into her. But then something happened. Her gaze passed across the room, flicked past a waiter, a sculpture, a woman in red, and then landed on me. She froze. It was a split-second pause, but it told me everything. Her entire expression shifted. The fake smile dropped. Her shoulders stiffened. Her hand dropped from the man's shoulder. It was like I'd caught her in the middle of someone else's dream. She wasn't expecting me to be there. And suddenly, the room didn't feel so big anymore. She started walking toward me. Not fast. Not slow. Just deliberate. "Zach," she said, voice low, controlled. "What are you doing here?" I shrugged. Didn't want to miss the art. She narrowed her eyes, a tight smile forming. "This isn't really your scene. Guess I'm expanding my horizons." There was a beat of silence. "You followed me," she said, not accusing, just flat. "I came," I said. Didn't realize I needed permission. She opened her mouth to say something else, but one of the men from her circle stepped beside her. "Everything okay, Allison?" "Allison. Not Mrs. Harper. Not even Ms. Wexler." "All good," she said quickly. Zach was just leaving. I wasn't. Instead, I looked at the man, tall, silver-haired, tailored suit, and offered my hand. "Zach Harper," I said. "Her husband." His expression barely flickered. A politician's face. But his eyes scanned me like I was a misplaced object at a dinner party. "Thomas Breen," he said. "Pleasure." I didn't return the smile. Allison stepped between us, forcing a laugh. "Zach, let's not do this here." "No," I said. "Let's. I think this is the perfect place." She grabbed my arm, but I pulled back. "You're not wearing your ring," I said, loud enough for a few nearby heads to turn. The man, Thomas, tilted his head slightly. I wasn't aware Allison was married. She introduced herself as Kendra. The name hit me like a slap. Kendra was Allison's best friend in college. She died in a car accident 4 years ago. I remembered the funeral. Allison had cried for days. And now she was using her name as a cover? "Kendra Tate," I repeated. "Wow. That's bold, even for you." Allison's face had gone pale. She looked around, realizing just how many people were now watching. "I think we should talk," she hissed. "Privately." "I'm sure you do." Without another word, I turned and walked out. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want the whole gallery turning into a reality show meltdown. But I wanted her to know, without question, that I saw her. That she couldn't hide anymore. Back at the hotel, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours, playing the scene over and over again. Her face when she saw me. The way she tried to reclaim control. The slip-up with the name. And then I remembered something. A few weeks earlier, I'd found a crumpled receipt in the trash from a boutique hotel on Peachtree Street. I thought nothing of it then. But now, the next morning I drove down there. Told the front desk I was checking on a reservation for Kendra Tate. I didn't think it would work. It did. "Of course," the woman said, clicking away at her computer. "We have a multi-night booking under that name. Do you have the confirmation number?" I didn't. But then I asked if the room had been paid for. She said it had. Prepaid with a card. I asked if she could print the folio for tax purposes. She hesitated, then asked for ID. I handed her mine. She looked at it. Paused. Then handed me the printout. And there it was. A reservation under Kendra Tate. The email used for the booking was familiar, Allison's old college email, long dormant. The billing address matched ours. The signature on the folio, scribbled quickly, almost messy, was unmistakably hers. I stood there, staring at it, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. This wasn't just infidelity. This was orchestration. Layers of deception. All premeditated. The name. The reservations. The persona. I drove home in silence, the paper on the passenger seat beside me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat with the knowledge that I was no longer unraveling a suspicion. I was looking at a blueprint. And my wife was the architect. I didn't say a word to Allison for 3 days after the gala. She didn't reach out either, not even a text. She stayed out each night, coming home long after I'd gone to bed. Or maybe not coming home at all. I stopped checking. I stopped asking. Whatever she was doing, she clearly had a system for it. And now I had mine. The night after I confirmed the Kendra Tate reservation, I sat at the kitchen table until 3 a.m. just thinking. Trying to piece together what kind of person fakes a name, keeps a second identity, and lies with a straight face for months under the roof of someone who thought they knew her. I wanted answers. Not just the who and the where, but the how someone becomes capable of doing this and still acts like they're the victim. I started going through the house. Not in a rage, not tearing the place apart, but methodically, like I was auditing my own life. I began in the basement. She rarely went down there. Most of it was old storage, wedding gifts we never used, boxes of books from college, a broken floor lamp I kept meaning to fix. There was one shelf tucked behind the furnace where we kept out-of-season clothes and random keepsakes. While moving some boxes, I knocked over a boot box that had been stacked at the back. When I picked it up, it felt oddly light. No boots inside. I popped the lid. Inside was a second phone. My stomach dropped. It was a cheap prepaid model, the kind you buy with cash and don't link to a name. The battery was half full. No lock screen. Just open. Exposed. Like it had been waiting for me to find it. I scrolled through the messages. They weren't just flirty or suggestive. They were detailed. Coordinated. The texts went back over 5 months. Flight confirmed under KT. We'll meet you at gate like last time. Don't forget to use the secondary email. I'll clear browser history. He asked again where I was. Think he's close to catching on. One more trip and we should be done. I can't hold this together much longer. The sender was listed as TB. A few voice memos were also saved. I listened to one, Allison's voice, calm and low. He's been watching me. I don't think he's ready to confront it yet, but it's coming. I'll keep playing it cool, but we should accelerate Phase 2. Phase 2. What the hell was Phase 1? There were photos 2 *TS of booking confirmations under the Kendra Tate alias, a list of Airbnb addresses, even a scanned image of a fake Georgia driver's license with her face and Kendra's name. I stared at it for a full minute before realizing she'd been testing how far she could go. This wasn't some affair born out of boredom. This wasn't emotional neglect or a fluke or a drunk mistake. This was engineered. Cold. Strategic. I found a folder labeled June, Escape Prep. Inside were itineraries. Chicago. Asheville. Denver. Every booking was under Kendra Tate. All paid for with a card I didn't recognize, probably prepaid and untraceable. Some of the hotels required ID. She'd obviously planned for that. Each trip included details, arrival time, fake excuse, cover story, emergency contact marked only as T. I sat back, stunned. The person I married had not just cheated. She created an alternate life. One with a different name, different friends, different rules. And she kept it alive for almost half a year without a single slip until the gala. I copied everything. Photos, messages, audio files. I took *TS and backed them up to a hidden folder on my own device. I didn't confront her, not yet. I knew better now. I was done playing catch-up. If I was going to burn the bridge, I was going to do it with a blowtorch. The next morning, I called out of work and took the day to visit an old friend from my college days, Matt Carson. Matt used to be a private investigator before switching over to freelance security consulting. He owed me a favor from years ago when I helped design a renovation plan for his parents' rental property free of charge. He always said if I ever needed something off the books, he'd make it happen. I didn't give him details over the phone. Just told him I needed help tracking a digital footprint and verifying a false identity. When I showed up at his office with a manila folder full of documents and the burner phone, he didn't ask many questions. I've seen worse, he said, flipping through the contents. Not much worse. But worse. Can you trace who TB is? I asked. Or connect any of these bookings to a real person? He studied one of the hotel folios. TB's initials show up here too. See the preferred guest ID on the Marriott receipt? That's a traceable number. How long will it take? Depends. If the account's legit, I can pull it in a day or 2. If it's fake, might take longer. I'll pay whatever it costs, I said. He nodded. You might want to brace yourself for what you find. I'm already there. Over the next few days, I pretended everything was normal. Allison came and went with barely a glance in my direction. She still wore the new perfume. Still dressed like a woman headed to a life that didn't involve me. I kept playing my part, the distracted husband, the silent architect, the man lost in deadlines and emails. She didn't suspect a thing. Then Matt called. You're not going to believe this, he said. Try me. The guy TB is Thomas Breen. He's real. Registered address matches the downtown condo complex near the state capitol. Works on the zoning committee for Fulton County. My throat tightened. That's the guy from the gala. I figured. But it gets weirder. He's married. Wife's name is Carol. Carol Breen. She's on the governor's executive staff. You're kidding. Nope. And guess what? The Kendra Tate identity? Not just a fake name. There are records, flights, reservations, purchases, all linked to that alias. Someone built a whole shell profile. It's like she's trying to vanish in plain sight. Why would someone like Breen risk this? He's not some low-level guy. He's plugged in. I don't know, Matt said. But Carol Breen might. He sent me her contact info, publicly listed office address, work number, private P.O. box. I didn't know what I was planning to do with it, but something told me she deserved to know. That night, I went back into the basement and stared at the boot box. The phone was still there, off now like it had gone to sleep. I pulled out the notebook I'd been keeping and started a new page. Phase 2 began weeks ago. She's getting ready to disappear. I'm not going to stop her. But I'm going to make sure she doesn't get away with it clean. I wasn't interested in saving the marriage. That ship had not only sailed, it had sunk. What I wanted was the truth. And whatever came after. It started with the SUV. Black. Tinted windows. Parked 3 houses down. Engine idling for hours without headlights on. The first night, I chalked it up to someone waiting for a late-night pickup. Uber, maybe? But it came back the next night. Same spot. Same time. 11:12 p.m. stayed until after 2 a.m. The third night it showed up, I stepped outside and walked down the block under the pretense of grabbing something from my car. I could feel eyes on me the entire time. When I passed the SUV, I turned slightly to catch a glimpse inside. Nothing. The windows were pitch black, not just tinted. Limo dark. I walked back slowly, keeping my head low. When I reached the porch, the SUV pulled off, tires rolling so softly it sounded like the night was swallowing it whole. That's when I knew it wasn't random. A week earlier, I had uncovered a fake identity. Now someone was watching the house. I didn't tell Allison. I didn't even mention it in the notebook. I just started taking photos with my phone each time it showed up, marking the timestamp. Then came the footprints. On Thursday morning, I found them leading up to the front steps, muddy, deliberate, spaced far enough to show someone had approached and stopped at the door. The odd part? Nothing showed up on the security camera. It had recorded the entire night uninterrupted. No figures. No motion alerts. Just a still sh*T of the porch light flickering slightly in the wind. I replayed the footage frame by frame, looking for shadows or inconsistencies. Nothing. That same afternoon, I got the email. No sender. No subject. Just a single image attachment. It was a photograph of me sleeping. Taken from inside my bedroom. The angle suggested the camera was only a few feet from the bed, maybe just across the room. My chest tightened. I was alone that night. Allison had been working late again. I checked the door locks. The windows. Nothing broken. No signs of forced entry. The security system hadn't triggered, and yet someone had been close enough to take that photo. I changed every password I had. Phone. Laptop. Email. Bank accounts. Then I bought 2 new indoor cameras and set them up in the bedroom and hallway, streaming everything straight to my phone. For a few nights, it went quiet. But then Allison disappeared. Not a call. Not a message. No bag missing. Just vanished. I waited until midnight before texting her, "You okay?" No response. At 2 a.m. I called straight to voicemail. She didn't come home that night. Or the next. Or the one after that. I thought about filing a missing persons report, but part of me knew it would be a waste. She wasn't missing. She was gone intentionally. On the 4th night, she came back like nothing happened. Walked through the door wearing a sweatshirt I'd never seen before, makeup wiped clean, and a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. "You're up," she said like we were roommates. "Didn't think you'd be awake. Where were you?" I asked, standing in the hallway in sweatpants and a t-shirt I hadn't changed out of in 2 days. "Out," she replied flatly. "Needed a break." "A break from what?" She didn't answer. Just shrugged and brushed past me toward the bedroom. Something was different about her. She wasn't defensive. She wasn't even cold. She was distant. Hollow. That night, I found a long, dark strand of hair on my pillow. Not Allison's. Hers was shoulder-length, dyed auburn. This one was straight, black, and nearly down to the waist. I held it up to the bathroom light, wondering how it got there. I hadn't had anyone over. I hadn't even left the house for more than groceries. I checked the security footage again. Hallway camera caught nothing unusual. Bedroom footage cut off at 3:18 a.m., a full hour before I woke up. No restart. No glitch. Just off. As if someone had known exactly when and where to interfere. I didn't sleep after that. Every sound became a trigger. Every creak of the house, every soft pop of wood settling in the walls felt deliberate. I started leaving lights on in every room. The cameras picked up nothing. No movement. No figures. Just shadows that seemed too consistent to be natural. One night, I heard breathing. Not mine. Not Allison's. I was in the guest room. She had taken the master. I turned on the light and sat up. The sound stopped instantly. I walked slowly to the door, opened it a crack, and scanned the hallway. Empty. But the next morning, I found the guest room door slightly ajar, something I never left that way. And the edge of the rug was curled inward like someone had stepped on it in the dark. It was getting into my head. I knew that. But paranoia doesn't feel like paranoia when things really are happening. It feels like survival. Then the second email came. Same anonymous address. This time, a video attachment. It was footage of me at the charity gala, standing near the sculpture, staring at Allison. The clip ended with her noticing me. Freezing. The angle was wrong. It wasn't security camera footage. It was filmed by someone in the crowd close enough to hear the music. Someone had been watching me watch her. The subject line of the email, "You don't see the whole picture." That night, I snapped. I waited until Allison was asleep. Then I grabbed her duffel bag and dumped it out on the living room floor. Half of it was normal, toiletries, clothes, some receipts. But buried at the bottom was a folded piece of paper with a series of hotel room numbers and dates. No names. No locations. Just numbers. One of them matched the date of the Kendra Tate reservation. I copied them all. I started building a timeline, trying to map them against her calendar entries and text logs I'd recovered from the burner phone. Patterns started forming. Most of the trips lined up with Thomas Breen's known appearances at zoning committee meetings around the state. Others overlapped with Allison's work weekends. She had planned each trip around his schedule. Not hers. I pulled out my notebook and added a new section, surveillance. SUV sightings increased, now appearing across from the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Porch lights flicker at 3:18 a.m. Exact time cameras go dark. Noise behind hallway vent, possible tampering? And then something new. I woke up to find my car door wide open in the driveway. Not forced. Not broken. Just open. The glove box had been emptied, papers tossed. But nothing taken. Not the dash cam. Not the charger. Not the emergency cash in the visor. Whoever had been inside wasn't there to steal. They were looking for something. Or leaving a message. The next day, I drove to Carol Breen's office. She wasn't there, but her assistant gave me a mailing address for official inquiries. I sent her everything. A full copy of the burner phone data. The hotel logs. The screensh asterisk TS. I included a note, "You deserve to know the truth. He's not just cheating. He's using state funds to do it. I have evidence. Contact me if you want it." I didn't expect a reply. But I got one. Exactly 2 days later, an unmarked envelope arrived at my front door. No return address. Just a flash drive inside. When I opened it on my laptop, there was a single video file labeled kt_final.mov. It showed Allison in a hotel room sitting across from Thomas Breen. He held out a box, a ring. She laughed, opened it, and placed it on her finger. The inside of the band was engraved. "KT, our last escape." Carol had filmed them. She had known all along. Carol Breen didn't call. She didn't write. She just let the video speak for her. It was quiet, surgical revenge proof of the affair, the ring, the fake identity. Allison wore it like a crown, laughing in that clip like someone who'd already left me far behind. Carol had known. Maybe for months. Maybe from the start. Her final touch was the engraving, "KT, our last escape." It wasn't a proposal. It was a goodbye. That ring marked the end. A reward for betrayal. I sat there in my office, replaying the video, barely breathing. The puzzle was finished. No more mystery. Just the cold, clean truth. Allison and Thomas had planned everything. The fake name. The meetings. The silence. They were never building a life together. They were just running from their own. And now it was over. With Carol's help, I filed a formal ethics complaint. Breen went down fast, misuse of government funds, falsified expense reports, conflicts of interest. His career ended not with scandal, but a quiet termination and a vanished reputation. Allison disappeared before the dust settled. No confrontation. No apology. Just gone. Her last message came in red lipstick across our bedroom mirror. I never lied to myself. I sold the house. Packed what was mine. Moved to a lake cabin in Oregon where no one asks questions. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped wondering why. Some truths aren't meant to be explained. They're just engraved in gold.